Hello friends, and welcome back for week number 4 of our 52 weeks journaling club. So this week I have printed my photos. I use a matte paper that I've linked because it helps with the glare on the camera, and then also I just kind of like the way matte looks. So I printed out my photos on a collage and I cut them up, and then these 2x2 I used this punch that I had in my stash to punch a few to 2x2. So looking at what I've got this week, and we're in week 4, so we're in the last week of using the January kit, which is here. This is what I have left still. And we have been using this color scheme in various combinations, which you can see. I decided to pump it up with pink here. I refilled my fountain pen ink. I bought these new pens. They're TWSBI pens, TWSBI, and it's a plunger, and you can just fill it with a ton of ink because I'm always running out of ink. I like to write a lot. So I had recently filled my pen with this hot pink ink, so I had to try it out. Then you can see here, this one was more yellow, like the green and the yellow. So this week, because I am kind of getting over this color scheme, I thought that I would shake it up just a little bit and try something a little different. So here's my plan. So my plan for this week, we'll see if it goes as planned. And then I have a few other little small things here still left. So my plan is to break myself out of only using the square and rectangle patterns, but to also, I'm going to use this circle punch, probably this one, maybe the one that's one size up, or I may get a die, I'm not really sure. So I'm going to use these underneath the squares, and I'm going to try to bring color to the page, maybe with some scraps. I have some scraps over here. I love this blangy blang, so I may pull out some scraps and see where it goes. A lot of my photos are not going to take up the full space. They're smaller. So I'm wondering how I can get circles all over this layout. So if you want to grab yourself a punch or maybe a pack of ephemera or whatever, and if you don't want to do that, then there are plenty of 2x2s that you can still use here, and I may use them and layer them up with the circles. We'll see what happens. So week 4 is challenging ourselves to maybe think a little bit differently outside of a square or rectangle. So look and see if there are other things that you can put in that spot. So think of this like a sketch. You know, you put something here, 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 and here. So what can I do to mix it up a little bit instead of being literal and using the space literally? How can I make a little bit of combination? I think I'm going to also, I have some photos over here that when it printed on the collage, it was kind of oddball. I'm trying to remember, I think it's this one. So you see how this is a 4x3 and this is a 1 1/4 by 4. I'm going to use this space. So I'm going to combine it together to use, and I'm going to try to put it in the space like this and maybe cut a piece of cardstock out to the full size. So let's stretch ourselves this week and see if we can go beyond and use this as a sketch, a suggestion, and go beyond just the squares. All right, let's see what happens. So I am going to lay my photos out. Let's see where I would like to place them. And this time I have all 2x2 photos to go in the 2x2 spaces. and you see that I have two on the left bottom that are almost the same thing. I took pictures with my dogs. I was home with them. And now I'm just kind of flipping through the cards. Since this is kind of an odd assortment of photos, and I tried to pare them down and I just couldn't do it. I wanted to tell all of these stories. I wanted to put all of these photos on for the week. So now I'm just looking through the rest of the cards that I have that may work. And so the top left, my daughter went back to school and she is in the Boston area and it snowed. And she sent this photo, not believing that they didn't cancel classes, and I thought that that was kind of funny. True Southern girl through and through. Even if it snows, you still go to class. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And since we live in Florida, I don't get to talk about that very much because we don't see snow often. So anytime I get a chance, I usually will pull out my snow theme items, tell some stories. As you can see, I pulled out some snow-related items in the left corner, seeing if I can. I really want to get them all on there, and you'll see in a minute that I don't get them all on there, but I got quite a few in there. So on the right, I have this quote that I adored. It was something I came across on Facebook, and I saved it. It says, "It actually doesn't take much to be considered a difficult woman. That's why there are so many of us." And I matted it with a 2x2. So now I'm going to play with the elements here. I'm trying to get all of them in this little area. I'm trying to think, if I cut this down, will it still show the bear? And I've already used that card. So the cards that I have remaining, I printed 2 copies of some of the sheets. So I did use that bear already. And I'm happy with the placement, so I decided to not use it again. So I took the extra 3x4 papers and I cut out circles because I'm going to bring them around the page to unify the look on both sides. I did find that the smaller circle, the middle circle, was too small, so I pulled out a 2.5 inch circle to play with instead. And I'm trying to punch that glitter sheet, and it's so thick I can't punch it. I tried 2 different punches and I just gave up. So I grabbed this buffalo check. The January printables has like it's a light ivory color on the clipboards, so I thought that that would match really well. So I'm just cutting a bunch of pieces and circles to give myself a lot of options to put this together in a minute, and I line them all up on the bottom. So I've decided I'm happy with what I've got out, so I'm going to start gluing down the things I know that I'm going to keep. Starting with the 2x2s on the left page. So I decided to trim this up just a little bit so I could put it on this 2x2 wood frame saying. I did print a duplicate of this page, and then I did put it off center on the circle, but I lined it up with the 2x2 that's on the top. So the 2x2s are straight together. The circle is kind of off centered. I'm using my tweezers to pull some of the edges up because I wanted to tuck some papers behind and I wanted some papers to be on the top, so you'll see me do that often with my tweezers. Just wanted to trim these cards. These clipboards had a light gray line, a light gray cut line, and I think I used my brother's Scan and Cut to cut these, and it cut close but not all the way, so I just trimmed them up just a little bit. Do I want to put it up on the clipboard clip or do I want to put it under it? So I decided I wanted it to look like it was clipped by the clipboard, so I put it up. Then I noticed that both of these photos are not exactly the same size, so I trim up trim them up to be at least the same height. I couldn't trim the width because then I would trim my eye off, so I just left the width as is. But later on, when you see I add all the layers, you won't be able to tell. So I also matted this little 2x2 on a frame. Same thing I did with my dog on the top left. And then I'm repeating this large circle, and I'm going to do an off center. I'll make sure that the 2x2 is straight, but the circle is a little bit off center to kind of give it a playful look. So I was trying to take a photo of my dog. He was behind me on my shoulder on the sofa, and I thought he looked cute. And right when I took a picture of him, he licked the back of my head from my neck all the way up my hair, and I thought it was so gross. And you see my face right as I was taking the picture, and he looks like the picture of innocence, and I thought that was kind of funny. Trying to figure out if I'm going to mat this photo. I was very proud of this bonus room. It's been the dumping grounds of the house with a bunch of old electronics and gaming stuff and Journals for Life inventory, you name it, it's gone in this room, and I just cleaned it out. It's at the top of our stair landing. It's like a little loft area. So I was very proud of getting that all cleaned up. It actually looks like a normal room now. I wasn't sure if this brown was going to look good. Because you'd see that I pulled out a black and white polka dot, but I thought it looked pretty good considering the yellow and brown, the brown of my dogs. And it happened to be like a perfect height. I just had to trim one side off, so I went with that. I thought it looked pretty good. I was very pleased with that. It also complements the box in the bottom right corner. It is a toilet paper company, and it's bamboo, sustainable, etc. So it gets shipped to me each month, and I just thought it was really funny, the saying on the side of the box. But the box matches nicely with the brown. And now I'm going to play with all the snow things. And so I have this tag, and I decided to just trim it down. It didn't fit. I wanted to get more things on there, this little snow day card. So I end up liking the burr, trimming the top of the tag off, and then I trimmed it to where I tightened up the side. So now it looks like it was just a perfectly made for that. And you can see a close-up photo of that at the end of the video, and then of course here in the lesson of how that looked. So I was very happy with that, and you see Snow Day hanging out there. There's no, square underneath it. So that is in a 4x3 space, and I'm tucking it around with all the layers, playing with it. And I think it looks good. My camera decided to take a little trip, so fixed it back, and then here we are back. Got us all focused again and finishing up the layout here. So I'm playing with these circles, wanting to decide where they're going to go first before I final glue down some of these other photos and elements. I just really want to make sure that I don't do something goofy and have all the circles on top of each other. So I'll play with it here a second, just making sure that I get the placement to where I'm satisfied with it. And even this little circle doesn't have a collage piece behind it, right? It's just a little tuck behind a 3x4 card, and it works. And all of these little labels are going to unite the layout. And they come on the printable sheet, blank ones. There's a small one and a medium-sized one. And I will be using those to stamp and journal a little bit later. And so I also decided for the journal spots at the top two cards, I wanted to tell a little story or write a line. So I punched out white circles to do that. And the reason that they're white is because I didn't want it to be dark and conflict with the 3 colorful circles I already have on the page. I wanted them to kind of fade into the background. almost ready to stick everything down so that I can stamp. I didn't measure this piece, and I wanted it to be just a little bit longer so you could see the circles. I didn't want to cover up all the circles, and I think it works. Alright, I'm happy with all of this, so I am going to paste it all down. Sometimes I'll leave it a second or two just to make sure that's what I want to do. I'll go to the other side of the page and glue some of those things down, and then look at it again, and if it's where I want it, then I go ahead and just commit and glue it down. So that's kind of what's happening here. A lot of times I'm real decisive and I just go for it, but today I kind of was just fiddling around with it, just wanting it to look good. I didn't want it to look haphazard, that you could still see the sketch, and that it all made sense together. So now I'm ready to stamp. Had these loops out from last week, and so I'm just going to go with the same colors and so I pulled out a few stamps that said home and love, and then I pulled out some hearts and circles to play around with the pattern and to give an extra layer and dimension. So you can see the hearts on the captured card at the top right, so I wanted to bring hearts across the page. And I'm just kind of looking at seeing if I like this Distress Oxide ink or if I'm going to go with the second generation stamp of the Sea Glass, and I decided to go with Sea Glass. And I like the second generation. I think that looks good, but then you can't see it, so then I decided to go ahead and stamp it a little bit darker in the front. I'm going to repeat the same thing with a pink color. Cotton Candy. I think it matches this January tag, so it's very light though, so I stamp it and then I grab Do-Si-Do and stamp the second darker one. This little stamp is on the Autumn Days 3x4, and I still have a few left if you would like it. So I'm using a black ink so you can see it clearly, and I stamped home. And this cute little heart. And I end up taking this cute little heart and stamping it on some places on the page just to bring that all the way through. And there's that cute little heart. And I find little spots on the spread to stamp it a few times. Now with part of a club for a long time, and we got little stamps, and so I love using these little stamps in the Classic Collage notebook because I like fitting them onto the page in little places, and that "oh my" sentiment on the right kind of matches the home on the left, so it gives both labels kind of a similar look. And here I am stamping a little snowflake in a light color around the page. This is the reason I pulled out that little stamp set, was this arrow. I thought it was cute, and notice how I have it pointing towards the other side of the page. If you point an arrow off the page, then you bring your person to look off the page. So I'm pointing it to the other side, and then I do a reciprocal. So then I stamp it at the bottom and point it back to the left to the other page. It brings your eye around the layout. Here is a story stamp, 4x6 story stamp. It's got a lot of neat little elements on it and sentiments, and you can stack them and layer them. And so I'm going to stamp right now. You can download the free journaling page, and it'll give you all the prompts that the stamp makes. It's called the story stamp, and I'll link it below. And then the other combination that you can make is right here. Hard to see, but that's a paint splatter, and it's very, very light. And it is also on the story stamp. And then I have this Journal Basics 1 4x4 stamp. I use this stamp on everything. It has all of these little dits and dots, and you're able to use it in a lot of different places on the page. This is a story stamp, and it's details. It has these numbers like number 1, 2, 3, so you can stamp your photos, and then in your journaling you can stamp 1, 2, 3 again, so you know which journaling goes with which photo. So I use this a lot. Here's that 4x4 Journal Basics 1 stamp. I wasn't done with it, so I'm pulling it back out again. There's a little stitching on it. I like stitching in my layout or the way it looks, but I don't always like pulling out my sewing machine. So this makes it look like I sewed it with some black thread, when really I just stamped it on there. And since this layout is kind of random a little bit and layered, I thought it looked really nice. And then I added this tack, so it looked like it was tacked into the book or on a tack board. I took a little black marker and filled in where it didn't get a good impression. And I brought that tack around the page in different places. Just continuing the layering, so there's multiple things kind of going on both of these pages. And I'm having fun at this point. It's a little kind of freeing and messy, so I'm really enjoying just having at it and not being too super planned today. Sometimes I like the structure, and sometimes it's really nice just to go for it. All right, my friends, so we are back. This is how it turned out, so tell me what you think. This was not planned at all. This was completely off the cuff, deciding to use a bunch of circles, and then also using the collage as a suggestion and background of where to place things, but not being too literal with it. I think I accomplished my goal, and I like how this turned out. So I know that I explained it probably in the voiceover of the last video, but you can see where I cut this large piece out and then layered this over. I wasn't too careful with sizes, so I played with sizes. I played with layers, tucking things under and putting things on top, so lots of different layers going on here. I brought circles around the page, not only with the stamp, but with the punches, the big punch and the little punch, and then this background here had some polka dots, and then I stamped some on. So the thing that unifies this layout, I think, is the banners, the stamping, using some of the same element stamps. So like this arrow, and then the stitching. You see the stitching, like rules a third. You see stitching here. So I think the circles and the stitching unites this kind of random layout, and I like it. I enjoy it. I had a lot of fun. So now it's time to journal. This is a whole lot of photos. Don't have a whole lot of journaling going on today, and that's okay. You can tell that sometimes I make up for it, and other days I have a whole lot to say. And sometimes I just have a little bit to say, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. So this week I'm just going to do some short and small journaling, and join me to do that.
The Snowman by Wallace Stevens. One must have a mind of winter to regard the frost and the boughs of the pine trees crusted with snow, and have been cold a long time, to behold the junipers shagged with ice, the spruces rough in the distant glitter of the January sun, and not to think of any misery in the sound of the wind and the sound of a few leaves, which is the sound of the land, full of the same wind that is blowing in the same bare place. For the listener who listens in the snow, and nothing himself beholds, nothing that is not there, and the nothing that is. Snowy Mountain Overlook by Pamela Scorch. Snow-capped mountains touch the sky. The scene is far from view. A neon light rings overhead, a light of silver blue. Like the mountains, colored white, with edges sharpened black, the hills are at the crossroads. There is no more looking back. For winter hills stand still in time, like frost and raging wind. Do not descend to valleys lost, for stuck does not mean pinned. The winter hold will soon release the valleys capped in snow, and stuck in time will we be no more. Now let my people go. Just wanted to come back real quick and show you that I ended up getting a larger circle label and rejournaling this over again. It didn't fit in that space when I journaled with it, so I just replaced it and told the story here. And then what I also did is I had a sticker sheet from the backpack, and you see that the 2 green leaves I took from that sticker sheet. I forgot about my stickers. They were sitting off on the side, and it's okay. So I did go back and put a couple stickers on. Then I put the little coffee cup by week number 4. You'll see that. And then also I added the little circle art wood chip by my dog, and just those simple little stickers this week, but I wanted to show you, and you can see them in the following photo. Have a great week, my friends.